I'm Katie, and I haven't had an abortion, but 1 in 4 American women have. I'm sure you've heard about abortion in the news or seen it with the new abortion laws and protests that are going on. The noise about this topic is very deafening and very divided. We have two major movements trying to preserve or achieve what they perceive to be abortion. On one side, we have the pro choice movement, who believes that women should have access to abortion since it is their constitutional right and that it is immoral to force a woman to carry to term. On the other side, we have the pro life movement, who believes it is immoral to murder a human life, being the fetus, and that it is unconstitutional for a woman to have the right to do this. It is not her body, it is not her choice. The pro choice movement seeks to keep abortion safe and legal since Roe v. Wade, and the pro life movement seeks to overturn Roe v. Wade, a major landmark that created widespread abortion for everyone with certain restrictions in the United States, and that made it possible for the legalization of abortion. These two sides are very divided, and they make up about 50% of the American population. This controversy spans from several questions. Questions like, what is life? When does it start? What is its value? Is it a woman's body or is it its own body? And we must define these questions and find correct answers to these questions so we can completely understand what is abortion and why it happens. So first, let's start with the question of what is life? Well, we are alive. Life is what separates us, human beings, animals, plants, from inanimate objects, like a table. But the major controversy isn't what life is, but rather when does life start? And what is exactly this life's value? So, life, supported by much of the scientific community, is said to start at conception, when an egg fertilizes a cell. When a sperm cell fertilizes an egg, 23 chromosomes from your mother and 23 chromosomes from your father are bonded together to create a new genetic makeup and code that makes up you, that makes up the unborn baby inside your mother's belly. And so this this happens in every pregnancy. And since the the genetic code is different from your mother's and from your father's, it is true that the baby is a different person from the mother when the eggs is fertilized. So what exactly is the value of this life? Well, an unborn baby's value is the same value as a newborn baby, or as an adult, and should be treated as such. The 14th Amendment states, nor shall state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. And since a fetus is not the mother's property, it should not be deprived of life or liberty. They should not have these rights taken away. Ironically, the 14th Amendment is the amendment in which Roe v. Wade stands, stating that a woman's right to abortion is a woman's right to privacy, and that it should stay this way. The clause for the clause for privacy does not support the act of abortion, because abortion does not only include the privacy of the mother, but it also includes the life of a child, which has been taken away from it when an abortion is performed. So, to make this more personal, I could tell you a story. I could tell you a story about how my aunt Miguela had an abortion when she was 17, and she bore that burden for years and years. And eventually, it consumed her, and she committed suicide. Or I could tell you the story about my cousin-in-law, Maria. She had an abortion 5 years ago, and now she's in medical school. And she admits that having an abortion was the best decision of your life. And while these and millions of women like them are very important to the concept of abortion, they are not the issue at hand. The issue at hand is saving lives. saving the lives of unprotected, unborn children that are being killed thousands and thousands a day. And while, like I said before, these women are important, what we must focus on is the lives that are being taken away, the 60 million lives that have already been taken away legally in the United States by abortion, and the millions and millions that will follow. Is this actually about controlling women's bodies, or is it about saving lives? It would only be about controlling women's bodies if the body in question was a woman's body. But it's not. It is a separate entity that might have a different blood type, different genitals, different hair color, different eye color, different nose type. This is a separate person with a separate genetic code, with separate 2 little feet and 2 little toes. I mean, this is a different person that has a genetic code. Now, since the issue of abortion is so divided, people haven't really thought about what should be, people have thoroughly thought about what should be the exact solution to it, but nobody has actually come to terms to agree universally. And this might take a lot of time or will be impossible to do. Now, how do you solve this? How do we solve the slaughter of millions of babies? What we do is we have bans, we have restrictions, and we have acceptance. So the banning of those abortions that are performed due to inconvenience, financial problems, or just because you don't feel this is the right time to enter into parenthood, into motherhood, into fatherhood. This should not be an excuse to rip a child out of its safe, comfortable home of a womb just because you don't like the consequences of your actions. There are many ways to prevent pregnancy, like contraceptives, abstinence, and adoption. You could give your baby up for adoption, decide not to have sex, or you could use contraceptives when you have sex. But you should always have in mind that when you do have sex, the consequence of pregnancy is always there, no matter what you do. And you should not be exempt from this consequence. Now, restrictions. We should have restrictions on abortions due to rape and incest. The scenario of rape and incest makes up less than 1% of all abortions and should be treated severely when they do happen. So a woman who has been raped or has been through the scenario of incest should be able to get an abortion until 6 weeks when a fetus's heart is detectable. So they should have to have filed a police report so that the claim of rape and incest is legit, and then we can assegurate that the perpetrator will be found, and then with a physician permission, a woman can have an abortion performed in these cases. Now, acceptance we have for those abortions that constitute a fatal abnormality for the baby, which is not compatible with life. So it would die inside the womb or shortly outside the womb. Or a woman who is in grave danger of health risk due to the pregnancy. It is very tricky to determine that with mental illness. So just like the Alabama abortion bill, one should have a true physician checkup for screening serious mental illness that could result in the death of the baby or the mother. Now, these are the steps one should take to ensure that no more babies are unnecessarily aborted in the United States. Now, many people are going to ask, why are you doing this? This is a woman's choice, not a baby's. This is a woman's choice, and it's a violation of her choice. But it's not a woman's choice. It's a brutal violation of a baby's right to live. What about their choice?